Today I have a coffee and chat with Natalie Andreou, who is currently playing Elphaba in the West End hit musical Wicked, and her voice coach Chris Johnson, who is fully integrated into the London performance scene. They have some serious insight for any aspiring performer out there who is chasing that dream role.
You might really want to do a degree, but when you go for that audition, they're not going to be asking you any of that. You know, it's going to be based on talent alone.
Welcome. Welcome to your apartment.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for having me in this beautiful little... Is it?
Yes, it is.
In your own home.
It's good to be in my own home.
Yes.
How's it for you to be here?
It's
Slightly awkward.
a little bit, yeah. And we're a bit close, aren't we?
But you know, restrained by camera angles, I'm afraid.
Yes, good. So why are we here? I'm going to ask you some questions if you don't mind. I'm going to ask you about your past, your future as Elphaba. I might even ask you a few questions, Chris, if that's all right.
Cool. Well, I'd like to think there's a reason we're here.
Just because of...
That'd be good, yeah. Just if you don't end up doing it, I'll just kind of slide off.
Yeah. You were,
Like I was never here.
you were in my house. I thought I'd kind of sit in the shot. But first up,
Yes.
what is it like to be on stage as Elphaba?
A dream come true, and I'm not just saying that. That sounds like a cliche thing to say. However, it really is, and for the first time, actually, especially, it was quite surreal, and it went by in a blur. And I'm actually standby Elphaba, so the time I do get on there is very, very special.
Special, yeah.
So it's not like I get every single show of the week to get into a routine. It's one every now and then. So when I do, it really is something quite special.
Is it a lot different than doing it as the full time?
I think it requires a lot of hard work, actually. From a standby, I mean, you think, oh God, they're not doing anything, but you have to be ready. You have to be match ready to get on. The role itself is incredibly demanding in terms of vocal ability, stability, stamina, to be able to keep on going, and to not do it for, the longest run I haven't done it so far is 5 weeks, and then to suddenly be thrown on, you can't.
And you don't get a rehearsal, do you?
No, it's not like, oh, let's see how you're getting on. You need to be ready, so you need to stay on top of it constantly. So in that sense, it's very, very hard, but it's also quite exciting. So yes, you're in the building. You're in the building, just hanging out, reading a book or watching TV or whatever. But there's always that tap on the shoulder. Am I going to be on later? It's quite.
You go from peace to chaos in a second.
Exactly. Utter panic. Yeah.
So what was the build up to all this, and was it a childhood dream?
I didn't really know this was a career I wanted to do till sort of like my late teens. I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was younger. And it wasn't until I was about 16, my dance teacher at the time said, are you going to audition for colleges this year? And it hadn't even occurred to me. It was always something I'd danced since the age of 3. I'd been to singing lessons and drama, and as you do as a hobby. And when she said it, I kind of went, no. But then she was like, you should try. So talked about it with my family and decided to get my A-levels out of the way. And then I auditioned for college when I was 18 and picked the right one for me.
In which college was that?
I went to London Studio Centre.
How come you picked it?
It was primarily a dance college at the time. I'm not quite sure where they are now. It was 10 years ago. Because dancing was always the main thing that I did throughout my life, so it was kind of the obvious choice that I would dance. And actually, while I was there, it was the singing that kind of came up behind. It became apparent to me that if you want to be in musical theatre, you have to have a bit of everything under you. A lot of strings to your bow.
And so what was the audition like? There's a lot of people out there that come through the door of the studio and their first audition, no idea what it's going to be like.
For college?
Yeah.
It was quite terrifying, actually.
Yeah, it's normally the first one. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, very, very true. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's kind of the same age. It's really fun, actually. You get to work with a lot of choreographers and teachers that are there at the college, and actually they get external people to come in and take them as well. They want to see you across the board in all aspects of dance, so ballet, contemporary, jazz. So I'd never taken a contemporary dance before, so my first contemporary class was the audition to get into the college. Tap, they want to hear a song, they'll probably want to see a little bit of script, maybe a minute worth of dialogue, a monologue.
One thing that always crops up, especially in the gradings for vocal education in and around schools, before kids reach that stage is sight singing, for example.
Right.
And it's a talking point at the moment. So what do you feel about sight singing? Is it something that's a priority? Is it needed for you at that stage?
In college, no. The ability I have of sight singing is something I've learned over the years in the job. It is not compulsory to be able to sight read music. It helps. When you start getting jobs and you sit there, the first day, you'll have a meet and greet or whatever, and you'll sit down, you'll read through the script maybe, and then you'll get cracking on the songs first and foremost. And the ability to lay the music out in front of you and say, oh, okay, I can kind of see where this harmony's going now, and to remember it, while they're teaching 3-4 other harmonies. These are skills you learn kind of as you go along, really. But you are not tested on your ability to sight read.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows. So what would you say then? What would be a priority for youngsters who want to get into theatre when they're thrown into that deep end, when they're sat in the room backstage thinking, I could be on in a minute? What would be a valuable tool for them to have at that moment in time? Clearly being able to sing and dance and act is a good but I mean, let's give him, pin it down. Is there anything that you feel that people would really want to work on?
I am a fool, and my whole 10-year career, I thought, do you know what, I'm working, very lucky enough to be working. There were gaps, trust me, when I wasn't, but in the times I was thinking, yeah, I can sing the material, I'm absolutely fine. And it's only now I've got this Elphaba material in front of me, I'm going, I need help. And only recently, through excellent vocal tutorage,
This is embarrassing.
there is always something to learn. When you leave college, don't think you know it all. You'll learn the majority of things on the job, for sure. Especially about yourself, I think, is a massive point. But, don't stop going to class. Don't stop learning. My voice is changing. My voice has changed so much in the past 3 months, and is still changing. To the point now I'm on stage in the show going, that bit that was really easy is now actually quite difficult because I've been working so much on the other stuff. I now can't do that as easy as I could before. So it's a constant process of just making
balancing yourself out, isn't it?
Yeah, and being a nice person really helps.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why'd you say that?
Because it goes
it's kind
far.
of obvious, but
it's a very small industry and people talk. And yeah, you're going to get people's backs up sometimes. Not everyone's going to like everybody, but if you go in there to do the job and do it well, and I think that speaks volumes, really.
So you said that you're about being ready. Are there any other reasons why across your journey, across the 10 years, why that's been most important to you? Has it been the situation of auditions where you've had to turn up or you've been thrown in last minute? Has that happened?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say I wouldn't be where I am without that situation. Leaving college as a dancer, they're not just going to give you the lead part. You have to earn it and you have to show what you can do and prove yourself over the years. So I wasn't quite sure when I first started what kind of way I was going to be going, but initially it was all about, being in the ensemble, maybe dance captain, having a second cover or maybe a first cover. And every job you get, they look at the previous job and go, oh, she was second cover last time. Let's give her first cover. She can obviously do it, and let's push her out along the way. But in Rock of Ages, which was the first part I played of Sherry, unfortunately the girl who was cast in the role originally was quite poorly, and 6 weeks into the job, so we'd done rehearsals and then previews, she went off. Well, she said she couldn't do the show about 5 o'clock in the evening, just before the show, and I hadn't had any rehearsals. As a swing, I was cast as a swing at the time. I was lucky enough, very fortunate enough that I'm sitting on.
And a swing does what? 5 roles?
Yeah, I was covering 5 parts. Sherry being one of them, so I was able to sit there and watch the ensemble as they were learning and note down all the tracks. But I was first cover Sherry. So from watching and having it all kind of, I don't know, subconsciously went in, I was able to do the show without a rehearsal because I knew what I was doing. So in that sense, it's really important. And also,
and that led to,
which now led to where I am
your first
today.
big role for 2.5 years.
Yeah, I was there for 2.5 years
Right.
in total. So, but also in terms of an audition perspective, you might get a call from your agent saying, "Are you around at 1 today? Can you get down to, I don't know, Leicester Square because you've got an audition here, there. They need a pop song and a legit musical theatre, 16 bars of each, and can you prepare a monologue? That'd be awesome. Okay, go, great. And you've got 4 hours, and you're thrown into that. Yeah. So it's why it's good to have your rep ready. It's good to have maybe a monologue ready. I think to know what you'd sing for each show would be really, really advisable. If you knew you suddenly had a Les Mis audition coming up, what would you say? You should have it ready to go, so you don't have that last minute panic.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because you were saying, Chris, weren't you, that in relation to other singers in this world that you come across, or performers, Natalie has got this weird ability in terms of remembering.
Yeah.
Right?
You're completely oblivious to it, right? As in, you're just like, well, it's just a script. I just read it and remember it, right?
So years of practicing and training and learning and...
Yeah, but it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Really?
Yeah. I get some level of that with song lyrics. I'm good at remembering songs. I'm not quite sure, but it's not quite at the ability that you have of remembering scripts. And actually, from reading books about how to practice, you do exactly what they say, which is you read it through and you make sure I tell you if it's wrong the moment it's wrong, and then tell you what it's supposed to be. Because in Wicked, for instance, it has to be word for word. There's no riffing at all, is there?
You can't ad-lib musical theatre.
Yeah, it's got to be on point. So every word has got to be it, and even if it's just a couple of things that where the sentence still makes sense, it's just another way of saying it with the same words. Can't have it in that order. Got to put it right back. Tell you what it is.
Back to the beginning.
Back to the beginning again.
Again,
or back
until
a
it's
few
right.
lines. And that's how we practiced in the kitchen, wasn't it? That's how it helped you do your scripts and stuff. But how quickly it goes in and how quickly you're off book in rehearsals is a feat. That's a class in itself, isn't it?
Which is interesting that you say it's something that you don't even know that you're doing. And the other point about that I find interesting, and I do find interesting, is the fact that singing, Wicked being such a vocally demanding part, singing wasn't your first discipline, right? And again, so what was it? Was it something that you were just able to do? And in fact, because you worked with her, Chris, what do you think about that?
About how she ended up as a singer.
Oh, and being able to handle the parts that she's got now without it being her first discipline, with dance being the first thing that she's able to do. Is she worked hard at it? Is it just
I
magical
can't dance
talent?
anymore. I refuse to dance. My body won't let me anymore. So I'm now a singer.
That's basically what dancers say, isn't it? When
I can't move.
When they get to 30 something, you're not 30 yet, but when they do, you know, it's like knees, hips.
How are they?
Yeah.
But yeah, was it magical talent, or is it work?
We were chatting about this the other night. Like, you know, physiologically, is there just like a really nice setup for a certain sound? Yeah. You know, the mouth shape, the vocal cord length.
Big mouth.
Good for a belt, perchance. But also, you know, I just think that can go so deep. Just thinking now, like, if singing wasn't your first passion, then you might not have been influenced into some extreme style, you know, into some really different way of singing that can be really off balance. So your voice strikes me as being very much an extension of your speaking voice with really nice vibrato tonally. You know, so you're starting from a place of balance, from a place of neutrality, do you know what I mean? And coming either side of that in terms of style and expression means that you can fulfill roles and sentiments and whatever easier than someone who is just like super bright, like we're saying, super twangy, super dark, too legit, you know, just
really stylistic.
Really stylistic. Your singing, I think, comes from a speech-like place, which is why it's so malleable.
I've got no style, basically.
Boring.
Well, but you've got an expressive speaking voice.
Arguably, yes.
Yes, you have. And that comes across in your singing for sure. That's how I feel. It's been a successful journey. That it came late was actually a good thing.
But things like it's constantly changing and constantly working stuff out. I don't think you're ever like belting the End of Gravity. I've been looking at kind of mixing it, making it really, really safe, and like the war cry at the end. I think I belted it for the first time on stage. And you're like, I found it, woohoo! And you work it out as you go along, and it's never exactly how you want it. And when you're up there, you go, okay, I want to change that bit slightly. I want to try that out. And obviously, the nerves sort of dissipating over the weeks kind of make that more possible. So you're not thinking about not cracking. You're thinking about, I might just put a little riff in there.
Yeah.
But the framework, in order for you to get where you are today, you've got these things in place, the setup within your vocal tract.
Big mouth.
Whatever you're doing, however you got there, it wasn't the thing that you necessarily really studied back then.
I've never really, really worked on my voice. That sounds like really like, I'm so lucky.
Stop the interview.
I didn't.
Basically.
I've had singing lessons, but it's never been. It's always just something I've taken for granted. I've been really lucky with the work, I think, massively. But it could have come from influences from when I was really young.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like what you're saying, because that's what you said about the fact that you started off with a place of balance, however you've done it. You started off, and that's possibly governed where you are today because it's giving you options. Because you're able to use your voice in so many different ways. Whereas what you said about the stylistic influences, and maybe there's a shout for if somebody does early doors get involved with a style that isn't particularly useful in terms of helping people sing in many ways.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get so passionate about this style. I'm going to make it my world. I'm going to focus on that so much. It might limit some other jobs, but what it might do is create something that's really quite special in the same way.
I
you know what
agree.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I've quite recently had the opportunity to mentor one of Chris's students, and she was saying how she felt that she didn't really know where she sat and what she wanted to do, and she brought in all these songs and we were singing them through, and I can see what she's trying to do, and she can do them. Like she was belting all these big numbers, and I'm saying, yeah, it's there. You can do this. But speaking to her and hearing she was actually classically trained, and actually her voice is so suited to 40s, 50s, really traditional Rodgers and Hammerstein kind of style things. That is where she'll work. And I think if you do hone in on that, on what you can do and what you're good at. Yes, there's odd random jobs like Evita thrown in there quite randomly, but...
And then you did something at the English National Opera.
Yeah, but that's...
You were a prostitute! And it's all part of the story, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It makes it acceptable.
Rich
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
tapestry.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is there's ways of, if she really, really pushes that, then she will excel in that. Be a master of it.
Yes.
If that's what her thing is, then that's really what she should push.
Totally, yeah.
I think.
And there's two camps of singer, isn't there? In terms of if you're a working singer, and you're basically making your living, your skill set needs to be quite broad.
Yeah.
And so having a voice that is versatile and comes from a place of neutrality and balance, it means that backing vocals become much easier because you don't stick out. The idea is to blend, and being in control means you can blend. Session singing means you can kind of come either side. They want you country, they want you blues, they want you pop, they want you everything. And then function singing, fulfilling styles all round. But then, when you go into uniqueness, when you go into heavy style, to focus down on something that is bit more extreme and quirky, then that's what defines a lot of success in selling records, right? And writing your own music.
Yeah.
So the paths are so different, and really if you're going to have a very neutral voice out in the charts, you probably won't get very far. It's about edge when it comes to those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accent,
Right.
you know, pronunciation, all kinds of weird stuff.
Because you, being a heavily sought after vocal coach in London, you deal with both sides, don't you? You deal with the original music,
Yeah.
and you deal with the musical theatre clients, and so you kind of see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
What would you say about singing and having the balanced voice for musical theatre as a whole? In order for, say you've got, you know, a 11-year-old who is looking, I want to do something with singing in my life, what would you tell them to do?
I think it's really important to be hanging around with people that are like-minded to you at that age, and actually a little bit older. So I think, like, you know, 11, 12-year-olds, you see it in choirs all the time, that the 15 and 16-year-old singers who are a bit further on in their journey, maybe they've had a few lessons as well, they maybe are really, really keen on a certain style, and it's starting to come through in their singing, and you see the younger kids in the choir just like, I so want to be doing that.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
I so want to be there, and I really love the fact that pockets of brilliant singers always come out of the same place. And if you're trying to do it on your own a lot of the time, you know, quite often you don't get that little zhuzh in your development from healthy competition crossed with inspiration. And then, you know, sharing of information, you know, you hang around with good singers that you enjoy who are willing to talk to you, and then people who are willing to teach you. Then you'll get like technical knowledge, style and influence and inspiration all in one. And I really feel we need to create environments for young people where they just get so inspired. And, you know, there's a few camps that are in America and the UK where young people would go to and spend 10 days absorbed in this and just come back like, I'm so invigorated. So
in a sense, inspiring motivation by the environment that you're in.
Yeah. By putting the right people together, and them all being a family. You know, you can all move forward together, as everyone always says. You can always move forward further together than you can each on your own, you know?
Yeah.
So if everyone's open and supportive and in the right groupings, if you like, and inspire each other, then I think that's just golden.
What would you tell your 11-year-old self about the industry now, looking forward? And you weren't, to be fair, so it might be an odd question, but if you were looking up going, that's what I want to do. Is that how 11-year-olds?
Yeah, that was a good one, I think. I like it.
Do everything. Jack of all trades, get it all under your belt, as much experience in all fields as you possibly can. And I would say, you know, if someone was looking to go to college, about picking the right college for them, I think, especially in musical theatre, a really good way of working it out is, you know, go on all the websites for the shows in London today, see where all the cast trained, have a look. It will say training, Lane Theatre Arts training, London Studio Centre train, you know, Mountview, and have a look at them all, research the colleges, see what they offer, what you can do. I'd say you don't need a degree in this industry unless you want to teach. You don't need a degree. So that would also be interesting. But you might want a degree, you might want to have that under your belt.
So you're saying instead of perhaps spending the time getting a degree, you would spend the time absorbing yourself in the...
As opposed to, if you want to succeed in this business, you're not going to do it in lectures with a pen and paper. You might really want to do a degree. You might, you know, the history of theatre and all that, it might be really, really interesting to you, and you do a lot of anatomy, biology kind of things as well. But when you go for that audition, they're not going to be asking you any of that. You know, it's going to be based on talent alone and what you have as a brand to offer to that particular role or job. So in that respect, you know, I think you're more wise to be, you know, in class than sitting in a lecture room, for sure.
And you feel the vocational thing is probably a better way to go?
Yeah, I think some courses could definitely consider including experiences in it or in them more often that do relate to the industry. You know, the way experts become experts and masters at whatever become that way is because they practice in ways that is really close to the actual act itself, so they get really good at it. And that's why I think experience often trumps the argument of education sometimes, you know. But if education and experience can actually come together a bit more in their approaches, then obviously, you know, there could be a case for, say, staying on for degree more so, or even training in different things like graded singing. Is super common, isn't it? You know, as a singing teacher, people coming in, they're working on their grades, and they're learning skills in terms of music and repertoire, but I really feel the skills that are just kind of brushed past are the technical skills, how to use your voice, how it sounds stylistically. And, you know, the singers are often saying, oh, you know, they said it doesn't matter if I flipped my head voice for that. It's just about getting
the notes,
getting the song down, you know, in a composed manner. And that's fair enough, but somebody would invest 7 years or something like that, however long it might take each person, in attaining grade 8 singing. Obviously they would feel, given that much time and preparation, that being a grade 8 singer, I'm clearly able to go and do jobs. But we all know that you can hear a grade 8 singer sing and it doesn't matter, they got a grade 8, you hear it and go, it's just not nice, you know, or it's just not evoking any emotion in me at all. And when you go out there and get an audition for theatre, for a band, for a backing vocal job or session singing, you're going to want people to go, oh, that sounds great. And grade 8 singing doesn't necessarily bring in the technical and stylistic adjustments for singers to sound that way and be attractive in the industry.
Yeah.
I think graded singing really falls short on that.
Yeah, in the sense that it's possibly the measurement for the grades. As you said, there is benefit to it, but the measurement for the grades for certain goals are slightly skewed in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
And the people delivering it obviously are delivering it as it's written, that's fair enough, but they're usually singers or with that, it's just theory based, right? And they're not usually versed in how does this muscle interact with this muscle and how does that achieve the million different colours of tone that you can sing on that difficult to attain note.
Which you require for the job, which are common jobs.
Yeah.
Musical theatre jobs, writing your own music, the options you need with your voice to do all that kind of stuff. It's common. People are going to want to do that, aren't they? And like you say, they walk out after grade 8, and unfortunately, disappointment might hit to that point when.
As a student,
yeah.
You know? But learning the mechanics of the voice and how that really functions in singers takes a really long time. And you have to hear a lot of voices, don't you? So I think that can be also quite an off-putting aspect to actually learning it.
As a teacher,
you know, because if you're teaching graded singing, maybe you could tick the boxes, but there's no reason to say that in that same lesson you couldn't just slip a few technical pointers to make them actually sound good. Because, you know, long term, that's actually really, really valuable, you know? In
an ideal world, it seems like we'd actually want to revolutionise the whole thing, but for the meantime, we just slip a few cheeky tips in. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, so I think I'm very conscious of your time, because you've got to go and perform today, have you? Or?
No performance today. I'm standing by today. Life of a standby. Probably going to watch Netflix.
In the theatre.
Chilling.
In the theatre.
But I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
That should, go straight to your core. And I want the true, honest answers from you if I could. I would like both of you, I'm going to flip between two of you, to give me a word. You're going to love this.
You've got to be serious, because I'm going to find it hard.
So, you can say whatever you like.
Okay, thank you.
If you're dead inside, you can...
I'll just get Drew to come and answer it. Drew the cat, wherever he is, he's made a special appearance.
Once or twice. So when I say these next words, you've got to give me the first thing that comes to your mind. It can be a word, a person, a thing, whatever. So what comes to mind when you hear the word irritating?
Drew in this interview.
Just in this interview? Because I tell you, he's been...
It's because he gets bored.
Yeah? He just climbs all over you and...
He gets bored, he lays around and he's like, He's like a reptile charging.
Here he is.
Speaking of the devil.
He's like a reptile that charges himself in the sunshine. You know, that's what they do, isn't it? They just get energy, and then when he's had a sleep, normally when we're about to go to bed, he just goes off his nut. His pupils go wide, and he starts turning into crazy cat.
When he's done a poo as well.
Yeah.
He's sort of like, I'm free!
Yeah, it's like, he was so sluggish on his way to the toilet. It's like,
He's like, pow!
Yeah, renewed energy. All right, well that's that one. That's good. Great answer in a way.
I do love him.
All right, Chris. Successful.
Oh, successful. Well, the success that I am aiming for is the sort of success that facilitates my ideal life. And my ideal life incorporates lots of time with this one as well. A dog. Straight, I know. Brownie points.
That's all it was.
You know, like a dog walks.
Okay, now we went to a dog from you, and just.
At first, dog second, Drew stays at home.
What's happening here?
You're first. You, a dog, loads of time.
Me and a dog, two separate things.
Two separate things, loads of time. And, you know, a successful career that can facilitate that. Because I think really as I get older, I realise, like, I don't want to spend all my time at work, necessarily.
All right then, so that means that there's one last one. I think that could link quite nicely to you, Natalie. What do you think of when you hear the word love?
Chris.
Ah, that's got me right there.
Is that it?
Yep.
Easy one.
Job done.
Sorted.
Anything else? You just...
Yep.
What else do you love?
The world. Everyone should love each other a bit more because then it'd be a really nicer place to be.
No, that's a wonderful way to end this interview, isn't it? Yeah.
Isn't it?
And world peace.
Is this a Miss World contest?
Well, thank you for that lovely ending, Natalie.
Thanks, guys.
Stay tuned for more educational research videos coming right up. But if you want to join me on this journey, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, or like my Facebook page, and or find me on Twitter. All of these you can find by sticking Steve Giles UK into the search box. Next time I speak with Ingrid Schnell, an artist development coach in Hollywood. She lets us know how she helps her singers hit the big time.
And I'll give them, you know, week to week assignments that really help them develop, you know, whether it is in their songwriting, in their musicality skills, in their vocal skills, so that they can one day, when they are in the recording studio, step up to the plate and deliver.